So we're talking about time and things that are contemporary, happening quickly. Some things that happen slowly are fossils in the ground.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Very, very
Okay,
slow.
so take me back.
Yeah.
You're there on a dig for a month.
Yes.
What is kind of you get there, what's the daily process like?
Well, we flew into Niamey, which is the capital, and then we took a plane ride to Agadez on the further west in the country, just toward the middle of the Sahara. And then from there, we would drive about 3 hours out to our dig site, and we camped there for the entire month. And it was just camping. It was hot. It was dust storms.
Okay, so how do you get 3 hours?
We're in.
Well, logistically.
No, it's a drive. It's just a drive, but boy, it's a drive in these rickety old Land Rovers that my boss Paul, has had since probably the 90s and have just been fixed up. I mean, if you looked into the engines, I'm not much of a car girl. I don't know anything about that, but I know when you open the engines, there shouldn't be duct tape everywhere. And that's how these things are being kept together.
So what happens hypothetically if you're in the middle of the desert and something happens to
I know.
people?
Luckily, we had a team of a number of people from Niger to help us. Yeah. Plus, every person had 2 military guards. So we actually had about 70 military people with us in their trucks with their machine guns and stuff. And they all came out with us to wherever we were going. And this was because of some previous experiences that my boss had in Niger with bandits. So it wasn't for any terrorist fears, anything like that. It's the middle of the Sahara, and if someone's coming through with a bunch of water and a bunch of really great materials, we're easy pickings. But not anymore, because we had about 70 guards with us who, again, could not be more like sweet and excited to be there. They'd come by the dig site and be like, "Are you digging up dragons?" And we're like, "Basically, yeah."
That's amazing.
Pretty much.
Okay, so you get to the one, how do you know that there are fossils at the site you're going to if it's in the middle of the desert?
Well, one thing that my boss does is he employs people of that region, so they could be nomads there. And as we were out there was actually every now and then we'd see a camel go by with a few people, and people just sort of walking by, and you're kind of like, where did they come from and where are they going, because they're in the middle of nowhere. But there is traffic in terms of nomads out there, and he has people that in Niger that he work for him, and they kind of go out on their motorbikes, and he's taught them what to look for, because the thing about the Sahara is it's always being weathered down with the sand and everything. So bones are constantly coming back to the surface. So all they have to do is kind of walk out. Paul's told them what to look for. They go out and they say, "Hey, I think there's something here." Send some pictures back to Paul, and he says, "I'll be there in a year," something like that. Mark it and I'll be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you get to the site. You say camp. Mm-hmm. What is a camp?
It's a tent
site look like?
It's tents. It's pitching tents. It's pitching up big tents where we had our kitchens and our sort of tech tents, and we brought out, let me think, 5,000 gallon sort of, I don't know, jugs. Jug isn't even the right word, since they had their own car for them, because that was our water for the time being. Luckily, where we were, since it was only a 3-hour drive back to the city of Agadez, if we needed anything, we could send one of the people of Niger back, because he had a pickup truck, so he could go back and get something if we desperately needed it, which didn't happen. The only thing that really happened was he went and came back with beers, which was very nice. But very essential. But so.
Okay, so in the morning, you guys wake up, you guys have breakfast?
Yep, we wake up at about 6, except all of the guards would get up at about 5 and start playing music, so we all ended up getting up at 5.
Nice.
And we'd head out to the field pretty early so it wouldn't be too hot, so we'd head out maybe 7:30, something like that. And we'd work till about 6:30, that's when the sun would go down. And our campsite was really only, we were camping very close to where we were digging, so we'd take our little Land Rovers and drive for 2 minutes to the dig site. And so, it was pretty easy on that front. So then it was just a day of work.
you get back at 6. What do you do from 6 till you go to bed?
We eat. It's a lot, you know. I was with a lot of people I'd never met before, so it was really nice to just get to know people and make friends and swap stories. Most of the team was from Spain, so it was very, very cool to meet so many people and make new connections there. And of course, I have a lot of old friends that I've been working with for 10 years as well, so it's always nice to see them. Honestly, I know some of them, like some of the Spanish, were staying up really late with how much work we were doing. I think I was in bed at like 8:30 every night to get up at 5. I was just so tired.
The sun too, you're out in the sun too?
Yeah, the sun was brutal. We all have our hats and stuff, and we're all wearing long sleeves. That's the name of the game out there.
Huh.
Yep. Yeah, and of course the nights were nice and cool, so it was perfect sleeping weather.
What kind of tech is it? Was it like, are you guys unplugged essentially, or
essentially
you guys have communication back?
We have some. Surprisingly, I had like 4G out there, which was really, really surprising. I told my family goodbye for a month. I'll never talk to you. I won't be talking to you at all. Then I was like, oh, actually, hi. But we brought a lot of portable generators, so we could work machines like small and big jackhammers and whatnot, because those are needed to at least get all this rock around the bones out. Once we get down to the bones, then it's pickaxes, chisels, brushes.
So what kind of fossils are you digging up there?
So out there we're digging, the one that I was at, so the month that I was there, we were digging up sauropods, which are the big long neck ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. They're kind of a new species, so we're not exactly sure what it is, but it's some new sauropod out there.
Now, is Africa the next frontier of exploration for paleontology?
Oh, it's always been, really. My boss has been in Africa for a very long time, and bones have been coming out of Africa since the 30s at least, probably even earlier, since we started really learning about dinosaurs. Yeah, it's every continent really has its specialties with dinosaurs. Like America, as we know, has some incredible dinosaurs out west, and a lot of Africa also does too. And then China has its own, Asia in general, but China specifically, they're kind of famous. Yeah, they're famous for the small, beautiful birds that come out from the end of the Mesozoic era. So like between 65 million to like 100 million years ago. They're famous for these beautifully preserved birds, which you can't find in like Africa and America. Just the preservation isn't the same. It's not as good. Yeah. But because birds are so fragile that they don't fossilize very often. But China, for example, is a place where they really somehow did. It was the right conditions. So every continent really has its dinosaurs.
Do you think there's an area on a continent where we're gonna find even grander fossils?
Know if they're,
or are we like tapped out?
Oh, definitely not tapped out. But if we are, it probably would be Africa, because with the erosion from the sand, depending where you're looking.
That's what I was curious about. Yeah.
With the erosion from the sand, we leave it for 50 years, come back, new things will have risen to the surface for sure. So yeah, Africa will always be producing. South America has some fantastic, massive dinosaurs. Those are where the biggest sauropods, like I think there was a big exhibit, Titanosaur was from, and all those kind of guys. Yep. I'd love to do work in South America, except these days I would be going for the live birds, not the big dead lizards, reptiles.